Good morning, and welcome to CMV Driver Appreciation Day.
It makes me very proud to do what I do because I know that I provide the public the goods and the materials that they need to live and enjoy their everyday lives.
I get to help the country move. I get to deliver our goods. I get to provide for the families and people of our country.
This is my lifestyle. I mean, I can't think of nothing else I'd rather do than, drive a motor coach. I mean, every time I hit the road, I'm excited.
To me, it means a great way of life. It also means that I can contribute to helping the American people get the supplies and goods that they need.
Becoming a driver has just totally changed my life. I have been able to travel the country, which I absolutely love. Now I'm more of a local driver so that I'm home every day. I just love every aspect of this industry.
I want the public to recognize, what we do. A lot of people don't understand what it takes, not just to be a driver, but what would happen if we weren't there.
We're very visible in the work that we do because we're out there in the motoring public. And to know that people recognize what we are doing out there, it's not trying to be a bully on the road or anything. We're out there trying to make a living, and we're out there trying to sustain them by delivering the goods that they need.
I think it's very important to have weeks like this so that, the drivers know that they're appreciated and recognized, and, it makes us feel very good when, we get those kind of accolades.
Every single thing we wear, we have in our homes, what we drive, everything came by a truck at some point in the delivery. So it just is amazing to have that recognition nationally and be appreciated, as everyone does, no matter what their job is.